Hello. All right, how's it going, y'all? Wait, is my mic on? Oh yeah, it is. We're good. Cool. I'll give like maybe 1 more minute. Wait for people to get in. Today is definitely usually on Thursdays we do less slides and more like project building and demos. So today we're going to be basically putting a lot of what we learned all together, and we're gonna build a fake startup. It's not gonna be a real startup, but we're gonna build like a mini startup. So that means like a landing page, the app itself. We're not gonna do login today. That's a little out of scope, but this is basically just to put all we learned with Tailwind, Svelte all together, and we're going to deploy it in a new way. Today, I'm going to show you how to deploy something with Vercel, which is my personal favorite way to deploy things. I've been using it for like 3 years now, and I've never gone back. Hey, how's it going? Good to see y'all. But yeah, pretty excited for today. Also a little, not nervous, but I hope I don't mess up too much because honestly, I don't write a lot of Svelte these days. Like, it's been kind of a year or two since I've written a lot of Svelte. Most of what I write is like React. So this will be a good exercise for all of us to work through this together. But we'll be building it like we're building something like as like we're real developers. So we'll be Googling a lot and all that stuff. But yeah, should be fun. By the end of this, we should be able to kind of deploy our own projects. And yeah, we won't be using GitHub pages anymore, just because Vercel is a lot more powerful and flexible, and it's free, which is great. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my slides. You do. Oh, that's not my slides. Wait, oops. There we go. All right. Okay. Let me get ready here. Hope everyone's having a good day so far. It's a pretty nice day here in New York. It was pretty sunny. Went for a jog this morning, which is nice. But yeah, it is getting dark already. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and just jump into it. Like I said, today is not too slides heavy. Today is kind of more, how do I say it? Today is just very demo heavy, so don't worry too much about the slides. But as always, the exclamation mark slides command should give you the link to the slides if you do want to follow along on your own. You can also get the PDF download in the Discord. Oh, you're in Somalia. That's sick. Oh, dang, it's midnight. Oh, appreciate you staying up for this. It means a lot. All right, hopefully we can get through this fast. So I don't want to take up too much of y'all's time, but yeah, should be pretty good. Okay, let's dive right into it then. So we're gonna start out by just talking about what SvelteKit is. We talked a lot about Svelte on Tuesday, right? And we didn't talk about SvelteKit, and we'll get into what that is in a second. And then we're going to talk about what Vercel is. I kind of gave like a 1 sentence overview of Vercel, but just want to kind of explain that fuller because that is going to be a key part of our workflow. I think it's really important as a developer to be able to deploy your own projects because not only does it feel better, right? It's not a great feeling when you've made something cool and it just stays on local host. It feels good to like publish something and maybe even connect it to your own domain and make it like a real site. Also, it's just more impressive, right? For a portfolio, if I'm a recruiter, I'd much rather see a link to a project than just like an image of it or even like a link to the GitHub. If it's a link, I can click on it and I can like play with it myself. So it's definitely much more convincing to recruiters if you can deploy. All right, and yeah, so our main demo for today is we're basically going to be building a productivity app start. It's basically a to-do app. We're just pretending it's a startup, so that's why I call it a productivity app. But it's essentially just a simple to-do app. It's nothing crazy, but we're going to use a lot of technologies that we've learned so far and combine them together. So we're going to use Tailwind for this. We're going to use Svelte, and then we're going to use Vercel to deploy it. So it's going to be combining a lot of stuff, which is fun. And yeah, then we have some homework to discuss, not too much, and then Q&A. Hey, hope everyone's having a good day. Okay, So let's get into what SvelteKit is. So SvelteKit is a framework that's built on top of Svelte. I know it's confusing, right? Because we just introduced Svelte as a framework, and I'm saying there's like another framework on top. I would get used to that. In web development, it's just tools on frameworks on frameworks. It's just like it's a never-ending cycle. So this is unfortunately very commonplace. Anywho, it's a framework that's built on top of Svelte that adds modern best practices so that we as developers don't have to. So some of these best practices include routing, build optimizations, offline support. There's a lot more too that I didn't list here, but basically it's more structured and opinionated than regular Svelte. And opinionated it might be a term that you've heard me say a lot in this course, and you will continue to hear me talk about, because I am a big fan of technologies that are opinionated. What does this mean in a web development sense? Well, opinionated means that there is a right way and a wrong way to write code, and an opinionated framework basically forces you to do as close to the right way as possible. This is the easiest way to summarize it. So regular Svelte, you can kind of set up routing and all that stuff however you want, but SvelteKit is more like, no, here is the best way to do routing. We've set it up all for you. We've done all the boring stuff for you. You just focus on building stuff. So it just makes it a lot easier for developers, right, to not have to worry about what is best practice when it's already baked into the thing that we're working with. And just a quick side note, we'll see a similar paradigm here when we get to React and Next.js. My analogy that I use is like Next.js is to React as SvelteKit is to Svelte. So Next.js is a framework on top of React, but it's more opinionated and structured. And same with SvelteKit, right? SvelteKit is a framework on top of Svelte that's more opinionated. And the good news is that you've already worked with SvelteKit as long as you've done some of the homework or walked through a demo that we did on Tuesday. Because once you set up Svelte on your own computer, by default, it already sets up SvelteKit. So if you've actually already used SvelteKit, you might have just not been aware. So that's something good there. Okay, let's talk about Vercel for a second. So for those of you that have been in this class before, you have heard me sing the praises of Vercel, and now it's time for, I guess, a more comprehensive explanation of what Vercel exactly is. So Vercel is basically a cloud platform, and it's used for deploying and hosting web apps. They just provide a ton of tools and services that you can use to deploy your own front ends and back ends. And it's really known for its integration with popular frameworks, right? It plays super well with Next.js, which they created themselves, Svelte, React, etc. And they offer features like automatic continuous deployment and global scaling. Basically, these are fancy terms, but once you deploy a website on Vercel, let's say you create an app and put it on Vercel, you maybe post it on Twitter or like Product Hunt or Hacker News, something like that, and it blows up. It gets millions of views. You don't have to really touch your servers at all, because Vercel will automatically scale up your app for you, which is really nice. Back in the old days, it's not even that old, it's like a couple of years ago, if you were to deploy a site on, say, AWS or just like host your own server, if you rent out a small server and then post your site somewhere and it goes viral, guess what? You are responsible for making the server bigger and big enough to handle millions of page views of traffic, right? But Vercel basically takes care of that all automatically, which is amazing. It's so great. And that's not even the best part. The best part is that deploying applications on Vercel as a solo developer is free. That's right, it's free. I don't know if anybody here has deployed things on AWS or just like Heroku or anything like that, but those platforms usually have to pay. I mean, Heroku had a free plan, but still, it wasn't that great. But this is a huge paradigm shift from before, where basically every time I wanted to like deploy an app back in like 2015, before Vercel really became popular, I had to pay for a server, to rent a server. But for Vercel, it's all free, which is amazing. So I love Vercel. And yeah, I might have mentioned this earlier, but they also created Next.js. So Next.js is my favorite framework. Vercel is my favorite platform. You start to get it, right? And they just so happen to play really well together. So, all right, cool. So enough of the slides. Let's get right into it, because today, I think I talked a little bit about this on Tuesday, but today the goal is to kind of put a lot of the topics that we've been learning together and we're going to build a more cohesive product. We're going to try to build a productivity app with SvelteKit, Tailwind. We're going to put it on GitHub, and we're going to try to deploy it in Vercel, all in maybe an hour. That's our goal. So it's a lot. It's going to be a lot. I might move kind of fast, so you feel free to follow along. That being said, I wouldn't expect anybody to keep up 100%, since we do want to kind of get through the whole thing. My goal is just to kind of show you end to end how it all kind of works together. And for the homework, I'm hoping that you guys can kind of do a similar activity. You don't have to build the same app necessarily, but just do the same activity of building something end to end like this and then publishing it. So don't worry if you're not able to keep up with this live demo. This is more of just like me showing it all, and then for homework, that's when you guys can go ahead and do it. All right, so hopefully that all sounds good. And with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and dive into it. So let's see, let's do some planning first. And so someone asked, should I just watch or code along? I would say it's probably best to watch, I would say, but if you feel like you're a fast typer and you can keep up, feel free to like start like in the beginning when we're scaffolding the app, feel free to like follow along for that part. But when it gets time to like starting to write out the code, don't worry if you feel like you're being left behind. So maybe you can code along in the beginning if that makes you feel comfortable. Okay, cool. So before we build anything, I like to have visuals. I'm a visual learner. I think most people here are. And what I really like to do when I build something like this is I like to have a wireframe or a lo-fi wireframe, right? For those of us here that are designers, this term should be fairly familiar. But basically for the non-designers, we're going to be using like a very simple whiteboarding app. I like Excalidraw. You're welcome to use whatever you want. But basically this is just a tool where we can whiteboard and just draw out what exactly we're gonna make. So let's create this box, and we're gonna create a web page with multiple pages. Well, actually, it's just gonna be two. It's just gonna be like our landing page, and then our app. So let's do that. So this is gonna be our landing page. Oh, and you don't have to copy along this part if you don't want. This is just as a visual for y'all to follow along. Okay, so our landing page is our first page, and maybe we have like a nav bar. I don't know, we need a name for our productivity app. Maybe I'll get like GPT-3 to like generate the name, but let's just call this to-dos. And then let's put a header. So we're gonna have some like headline. Some headline goes here. And then we're gonna have like a sub header or something. Some sub header goes here. Something like that. We might have some other stuff too, but we're really just gonna be cobbling together a Tailwind components to make this. So yeah, this is not the important part. The important part is the app component. So let's actually create another one of these. Move this over here. And let's go ahead and create, let's move this. So this is our app page. Let's say app. Let's call this dashboard, maybe to give it a better name. So this is our dashboard for our to-do list. And basically, what I'm gonna draw now is the layout, layout for our app. So we're gonna have like a input form where users can type in to-dos. So maybe we say like, type in a to-do. Okay, and then we're gonna have like, maybe we'll have a button under it. I guess design-wise, maybe we don't even have a button, we just have them submit it. I guess it's fine to have a button, but anyways, that's not an important part. So we have our to-do input form, and then we have the list of to-dos under it. So let's maybe put like another box. And then here is where we're gonna put like each individual to-do. And let's make these to-dos like cards, I guess. Something like this, so like buy milk. And maybe we have like, I don't know, maybe like a checkbox or something to signify when it's done that users can check. Maybe we can also have an X icon. I'll just use an emoji for now. Dang it. There we go. Yeah, I'll just use like an X emoji that they can click to delete it. Something like this. I don't know if we're gonna build out all these features, but this is the idea of like what our app's gonna look like. Okay, cool. So yeah, pretty simple, right? It's just this is our landing page, and then maybe they have like maybe they have a button here that's like go to app or go to dashboard. And then clicking this button would lead them to here. So let's just draw an arrow or something. Yeah. So clicking this dashboard button would take them to this page. And then they could just use the to-do list as normal. Cool. So this is like a visual of what we're building, right? It helps to have this visual. Now let's take a step further and think about components, right? So remember, components are really just pieces of an app that you piece together. Maybe we can have the same header that's here on here as well. I don't know if they need this button dashboard, but actually, nah. Let's leave the header on here. I don't think it makes sense to have it in the app. But basically, this form, like this input form, maybe we'll put a button here. Let's make this a component. Let's call. Oops. No. 1 second. Let's call this the to-do form component or something. So in code, it's going to look like this: to-do form, like that. And then I'm going to draw another arrow for this list, and we're going to call this like to-do list or something. Okay, cool. So this is basically how we're going to represent our app. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the lo-fi, but we'll be referring back to this when we need a visual to look at for our app. But pretty simple. This is basically what we're going to build today. And let's go ahead and get started. So we are going to, I'm actually going to start from GitHub and create the project on GitHub and then clone it on my computer. I know in the past we usually create it on our computer and then connect it to GitHub, but I just find it a little faster actually to create it on GitHub directly. So I'm going to go to GitHub, create a new repository. I'm going to call this Svelte. Let's just call this, I don't know, we need a name for our productivity startup. Give me a name. I don't know if you guys have seen this tool. It's very buzzy. It's all over the internet. But ChatGPT I've actually been using a lot as a tool to help me program. So I would ask it questions, and it's really just good for anything. It's kind of like an oracle. It's not always right though, so I keep that in mind. But so let's give me a name for my to-do list startup. We'll see if it gives us any good ones. It is super slow just because it's getting so much traffic. Go faster. If this doesn't work, we might just use like regular GPT or something else. All right, it seems like it's under heavy load. It's not working at all. That's okay. I guess that is a limitation when so many people are using it. But that's okay. Let's go ahead and leave this for now. Let's just call this like, I don't know. The first name that comes to mind is to-do-ist, but that already exists. All right, let's just do one of these. The to-do list, to-do HQ. Yeah, okay, I like this one. I mean, all of these are like pretty decent, but to-do HQ is decent. Let's just use that. To-do HQ. So this is to-do HQ. Let's just call it that. Public, yep, that's fine. Yep, this is all fine, this is all fine. I'm just gonna create a README just to have one. It's not really necessary though. All right, that all looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and create this repository. So it's gonna create an empty folder with a README. Great, so now we're gonna clone this on our computer. So I'm gonna take this code, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna copy this URL, and to clone it, I don't know if we've done cloning yet, but basically I need to open up a terminal. So I'm gonna open up my terminal here. Let me make this a little bigger so you can see. Okay, so we have our terminal. I'm gonna go into my projects folder, and then go into my Bootcamp projects folder. And then to clone, we're gonna type in git clone space, and then we're gonna paste that URL that we just copied. And this is going to clone into a new folder that's called to-do-hq. Okay, yay. So we now have our folder. I can cd into our new folder. We do ls, we should see that we have our readme. So we basically just copy this, this repo down onto our computer. So good, that works so far. Okay, so the next step is to set up Svelte and then Tailwind. Specifically, we're gonna set up SvelteKit and Tailwind. So an easy way to do that is like, I think on the Tailwind tutorial, they have this, they have this like whole guide where they teach you how to set up a brand new Svelte project and install Tailwind. I'll just paste this in the chat if you guys want the link. Basically, I'm just gonna follow these instructions. So let's go ahead and copy this first command. Oh, so one thing to note about this command. So this command, it looks similar to the one we did on Tuesday, right? This command creates a new Svelte app. Specifically, it creates this new Svelte app in a folder called My App. But what if we already have a folder? Well, all we need to do is replace the My App with dot when we're inside the folder we created, because dot will be like created inside the current folder, because we don't actually want to create a new folder. So that's something to note. I'm gonna actually just copy this. I'm gonna hop into my terminal, make sure I'm in the right folder, right? I have to be in the to-do-hq folder, which is good. Paste my command, and I'm gonna type dot, and hopefully this works. So I'm gonna run enter. It's gonna say, need to install. Yes, that's fine. Welcome to SvelteKit. Where should we create your project? Leave blank to use current directory. Yes. Directory not empty. Continue. Yes, that's okay because we already have a README, so it's complaining about that, but that is fine. Which Svelte app template? I guess I just want the skeleton project. Yeah, I just want the skeleton project. Don't click the demo app because it looks like if they give you the demo app, they'll give you a word guessing game, which is fine if you want to check that out. But for our purposes, we're basically starting from scratch. So I'm gonna go with skeleton project, which is the second option here. Add type checking with JavaScript. We haven't got to TypeScript yet, unfortunately. I mean, I would love to do TypeScript for this. But we could do JavaScript with JS docs comments, but I know we haven't talked about typing yet, so I think I'm just going to choose no. But when we get to TypeScript, eventually I will not force you, but I will highly recommend you do all your projects in TypeScript. But for today, we're just going to go with no. We're no type checking. Okay. Add ESLint for code linting. We haven't really worked with ESLint yet, but I don't think this is going to be a big problem if we add it. It's basically just it's a tool like Prettier that basically helps us write better code. So I'm going to use ESLint. Yes. Add Prettier for code formatting. You guys already know I like Prettier. Add Playwright for browser testing. We haven't really gotten into testing yet, so I'm actually going to say no. No testing. Add vi-test for unit testing. No, we're not doing any testing, so once again, no. Okay, that was a lot, but finally, we should have everything we need for our project. So I'm gonna type in ls again, and as you can see, now we have a bunch of files in our project that have been created by that boilerplate. So it's gonna give us a couple of commands. It's gonna tell us to first install our packages, which is fine. So I'm just gonna go ahead and run. We don't need to do this second step because we've already attached this code to a Git project, so we don't need to actually init again. And this is just a command to open the server. So I guess we'll just go ahead and install and start the server just to make sure everything's working. So I'm going to run npm install. You can also just run npm I if you want to save some time. So that's going to if you guys remember from Tuesday, npm install basically looks at the package.json file. It looks at all the dependencies and dev dependencies, and it basically installs them all into a folder called node modules. Okay, so looks like that went well. It installed our stuff, and we can check by going to ls and seeing that we have a new folder here called node modules, so that's a good sign. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and skip to this third step that they give us here and just start the server, just so we can see what the app looks like. npm run dev, and then it looks like they have this -- open. I'm assuming this will open a browser window for us automatically, so we don't have to like manually paste the URL in our browser. I'm gonna go ahead and run that. Sure. Okay, so this is what we have so far. It's just a blank website, so that is good. That is what we want. I'm gonna go ahead and move this to the left of the screen. Put this back. Okay, great. So far so good. I'm gonna go ahead and shut down the server. I just realized on Tuesday I never talked about how to shut down the server. Apologies there. You can shut down the server by using Control-C. So if you click on like the terminal and do Control-C, that will turn off the server. So that's something to note. And let's go back to the Tailwind tutorial here, or the Tailwind guide, and let's now set up Tailwind. So we've taken care of that first step. We've installed Svelte. We've got it all working. That's good. Now to install Tailwind. And to do that, I'm basically just going to copy these commands. And basically, if you look at what the command's doing, it's installing a bunch of packages into the project as a dev dependency. So it's installing Tailwind, PostCSS, AutoPrefixer, Svelte preprocess. You don't really need to know what all of these are. I guess just a quick note is that Tailwind CSS, this is the package we will use when we're using Tailwind. PostCSS and AutoPrefixer are required for Tailwind to work with this method that we're loading it in. And I actually don't really know what Svelte preprocess does, so I guess we'll see what that does in a second. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go ahead and make sure we're in the right folder, paste that command, press enter. Okay, so while that's happening, I'm also going to go ahead and, so now that we are almost done with installation, I'm going to get out of this terminal, and I'm going to open my folder in my code editor instead. So let me open my code editor. This is the project from yesterday, or from Tuesday, so I'm going to go ahead and open our to-do HQ. All right. Yes, I trust. Okay, so that's good. And if we look at package.json, you can see that Tailwind is right here. PostCSS, AutoPrefixer, like some of those packages that we just installed are now all available, so that's good. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this, and I'm going to do Control tilde. Wait, no, it's not Control tilde. I forgot what it was. I forgot the command. I think it's, let's see. I'm just going to use the command palette, actually. So I'm going to do Control-Shift-P. I'm going to type in create new terminal. And then this thing pops up, our terminal. So just to have it all in one place, I'm just going to use the terminal in here. But it's basically the same as in Hyper. Okay, so it looks like we have one more step here for step 2 of the tutorial. Actually, let me make this a little bigger for y'all. There we go. So I'm going to copy and paste this command, npx tailwind css and init tailwind.config, blah, blah. Basically, this is going to create a Tailwind config file. So we haven't actually worked with Tailwind config files yet, but Tailwind config files is where we can load in Tailwind plugins, is where we can adjust settings, like customize like properties and all that. It's quite powerful. But we're going to go ahead and we don't have one in our project yet. So this command will set one up for us. So I'm going to copy and paste that, press enter. Okay, so it says created Tailwind CSS config file, and it's also created a post CSS config file. Great. Honestly, I've been using Tailwind a long time. I can't really give you a great description of what post CSS does. I know it's a preprocessor on top of CSS, like it allows you to load Tailwind more easily, but basically the main focus should be on the Tailwind stuff. So, okay, so this is what our Tailwind config looks like. It's basically just a object that has like a couple of properties these are all blank. We don't need to really touch this for now. Okay, so let's move on to step 3. So enable use of post CSS in the style blocks. So it says in your Svelte config file, import Svelte preprocess and configure it to process style blocks. Okay, so let's go to the Svelte config file right here, and let's go ahead and import preprocess from Svelte-preprocess. Okay, and then under kit, it looks like we're going to do a comma and then type in preprocess, and then it looks like we just call the preprocess function on this object that's like post CSS is true. Okay, once again, this is all configuration stuff. You don't need to really worry about what's going on here. Besides, this is all what is necessary for Svelte to load post CSS and then Tailwind. Okay, so we save that. Let's go to the next step. Configure your template path. Add the paths of all your template files into your Tailwind config. Okay, so basically this is, for Tailwind to properly work, we have to tell the Tailwind config, hey, this is where all the Tailwind classes are going to be. I guess, so basically the reason why we have to do this is, if you guys didn't know already, Tailwind comes with like a billion classes, right? And what if you have an app that only uses like 100 of those classes? Isn't it kind of a waste for your app to load like all 1,000 or however many there are? Well, having this content set will allow Tailwind to purge all the unused classes when you publish your app to production. So it basically makes your app much smaller when you do like put it live, which is good, right? Smaller is good. Smaller equals better performance. So let's go ahead and put the path to all of our files. So it looks like we put ./source because all of our the code that we're going to write and mess with is in the source folder. Source /*/*. This is just a fancy way of saying get all the files that are in source. And specifically, we want the files that have the HTML, JS, Svelte, or TypeScript extension. Even though we're not using TypeScript in this project, might as well just add more just in case we pivot to TypeScript later. Okay, so we're going to save that. So far, so good. And then now we need to go into our CSS, our source app CSS file, and add these Tailwind directives. So this is kind of funky looking, right? In CSS, it normally does not allow you to put @ symbols like this, and that's why we need post CSS. Post CSS allows these Tailwind directives get loaded. So we copy this. Let's go into our source file. Source. We don't have an app.css yet. I guess we have to create one. Is there any CSS file? No, there's no CSS file at all. Okay, so let's go ahead and create one. Actually, it literally says to create. I didn't read that. App.css. And we're going to paste that code that we just copied. Let's not worry about these. It's confused because it's like, hey, this is a known rule. Let's not worry about that. Save that. And then we're going to go into source/routes/layout.svelte. Okay, it looks like they have page.svelte instead. Oh wait, and once again, they want us to create it. I really need to read better here. So it's interesting that they put the plus syntax here. I haven't really messed with SvelteKit much recently, but I guess this is a way to, I don't even know what this plus syntax is supposed to do exactly. I guess it's supposed to be like a layout syntax. I guess we'll see. So let's create a file that's called +layout.svelte. And we're going to import our app.css file. So let's go ahead and put a script and say import app.css. Yes. So save that. And then we're going to create a slot. I guess slot maybe just a slot is basically just passing in the other components. I don't think I really talked about slots yet, and I honestly this is a new syntax to me. I haven't really worked with SvelteKit that much, but based on this description, it says it lets us pass components into it. It's kind of like a wrapper. So this is going to be like a wrapper around our whole app, and slot just lets this is basically an easy way to load the CSS on every page that we make, as a short way of saying it. Okay. Cool. So that's looking good so far. Let's go ahead and, oh, I see. Okay, so I guess with this syntax, layout.svelte is automatically going to get wrapped over all of our pages. So every page that we create in the routes folder is going to automatically have this layout, I think, attached to it. And I think this plus page.svelte is at the home page. I'm assuming. I don't actually know for sure, but I guess we'll see in a second. So now we have to test if Tailwind is working. So in the page.svelte, oh yeah, I think that's the idea. I think it's kind of like outlet as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and test that Tailwind is working, and we know it's working when we add a class to the H1. And let's just use the same example that they use in the tutorial right here. So they have text 3XL font bold. I'm just going to copy this and paste that here as the class. Save that. And let's go ahead and we got to run our server. So we got to run our server again with npm run dev. And I'm just going to leave it running this time instead of shutting it down. Okay, so let's go back to our app. Yay! So if your text looks like this, so if it's big, it's bold, and it's underlined, that means it's working. So Tailwind is officially set up in our app. So that's great. And we can further test this by doing like text screen 600, which should give it like a green color. Cool. So very nice. All right, so we've gotten all the annoying boilerplate stuff out of the way. Now it's time to actually build stuff, right? Remember, we want to build something like this. We want to build a landing page. So I guess this code is going to be in our page.svelte, which is our home page, I suppose. And then we're going to have a dashboard page. This plus syntax is very interesting. I am going to do more research on that because I actually don't know. Svelte kit. Yes, let's look at the Svelte kit documentation. Routing. Okay, so it says page.svelte defines the page of your app. But why do you need the plus? Okay. Page.server plus page plus layout, yada 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 yada. Okay, Okay, so I guess you have to put a plus in front of the file if you want to create a route file. Interesting. So you're telling me if I create a file that says plus about.svelte, and we say like, I don't know, about page. So if assuming what I'm reading here is, yeah, if I create a file called plus about.svelte in routes, in my app, if I go to /about, oh, it doesn't work. Okay, I guess that was a lie. That did not work. Wait, it errored. What happened? Oh, I see. Never mind. I lied. Guys, I lied. The plus is for reserved names. So these are special files known by Svelte. So layout is a special file that wraps your whole app. Page is a special file that's like the home page of your app. I guess for us, we have to drop this plus symbol and just call it about.svelte. And let's rerun our server, right? We can't check our server if it's down, so we got to rerun it. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to refresh the page. I'm going to go to /about. Still says 404. Okay, so that's okay. We'll have to figure out how to do the routing here because I've actually never done routing in SvelteKit, or at least not recently. Oh, it's by folder. Oh, I see. Okay, so actually, to create an about page, I guess we have to create a folder here called about. So it's an about folder, and then we're going to move this page into here. And then we're going to rename this page to plus page.svelte. I see. Okay, it's very weird, right? But this makes it kind of easy to create routes. Like all we need to do to create a new route is create a folder with the route we want. And then inside that folder, we create a .page.svelte. I see. So now if I go to a /about, okay, there we go. Now we see our about page. So, okay, cool. That's out the way. So I guess that's how routing works in SvelteKit. All right, let's go back and let's finish building let's do our landing page first. Let's do like a really quick one. And then I want to get into the dashboard because that's the real meat of it. Okay, so you know me, I'm lazy. I don't want to code out all of this myself. I'm just going to use Tailwind UI. So I'm going to grab their free components. So components, I'm going to grab, let's see, what should we take? I'm going to grab a hero section. Is this free? Oh, this is nice. Okay, I guess this is the only free one now. So let's go ahead and take the code, make sure it's HTML. That's what we want. Let's copy this. And instead of just pasting it in the page, I'm actually going to do a different thing. I'm going to create a folder of components, right? We want best practices here, and we want to organize our code just like the pros would. And really, it's not feasible to have all your Tailwind code in one place, as some of you guys that have been with this class might have seen. It gets really ugly and really messy. And Tailwind's not really meant to be used with just HTML. Tailwind is meant to be used with frameworks like Svelte, React, and all that. And it's a lot easier to manage when you're splitting up your code, which is what we're going to do now. So we're going to create a components folder, and then we're going to create so I'm going to create a folder here in source called components. And inside components, I'm going to create another folder to separate our components called, let's call this marketing, because these are our marketing pages, right? A landing page is technically a marketing page. And then maybe we create another folder in components called dashboard. So this is going to separate our dashboard components and our marketing components. And inside the marketing folder, I'm going to create a new file called hero.svelte. So this is our hero component, right? So I'm going to copy and paste this HTML. I'm just going to drop it all in here. Save that. All right, so far so good. I'm getting some complaints from ESLint, but that's okay. We'll fix those later. I think that's all I need to do here. Yeah, so that's all we need to do here. I'm going to get rid of this. Now I'm going to try to import this component that we just made into our landing page. So let's go back to routes. Let's go into plus page.svelte. Let's delete all of this. And I believe we have to import our component first. So I think we do script. We have to use the script to import things, right? We can only run JavaScript in the scripts, in between the script tags. So I'm going to import hero. Well, if your editor does this, like an autofills it for you, feel free to just click it, because it will automatically fill in the rest and grab the hero component for you, which is nice. And then here, all we need to do is just render the component. So we import it and we render here. Let's save it. Let's go back to our app. Where is it? Yay! This is our app now. So we basically just took that free component, we stuck it there, and now it's here. I'm not going to do too much work on the landing page here, since the main focus is on the app. But let's go ahead and change this text. Yeah, so here where it says announcing our next round of funding, I guess I can leave that. Data to enrich your online business. I'm just going to say to-do lists reimagined. I'm going to go for the Apple, the Apple copy, and I'm just going to leave everything else. All right. Cool. So far so good. Maybe we add one more section, like a feature section. Yeah. So you grab a feature section here. I'm going to go ahead and just copy this one because it's the only one we get for free. Once again, I'm going to create a new component in marketing. Sorry, I'm used to my old key bindings, but new file called features.svelte. Paste all that there. All right, save it. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, right? So back in here, I'm going to import features. And then we're just going to load the features right under our hero. Save that. And I keep losing my thing. Voila. There we go. So we have a nice looking landing page already, right? This is pretty good. Even though none of the text is right. That's a later problem. Okay. What else? So far so good. Now we have to get started on our dashboard, right? We've been having fun messing around with our landing page. Nothing too crazy, but really the meat of it is in the app. So instead of saying login, since we're not building login today, let's just have this say dashboard. And when they click this, it'll take them to the dashboard, which is basically the to-do app. So let's go into the hero component. An easy way to just jump through files is to command click. So like I'm hitting command and you see I have this pointer finger. So I click that, it just takes me directly to the file. And since there's so much code here, if you don't want to like manually parse through it, you could just do command F or control F to find login, because we know that's the text that we're looking for. Login, okay. And then we're going to change login to dashboard. Okay, we also want to change the href, right? We're going to create a route called, like when we go to /dashboard, that's going to be the page that our app's going to be on. So let's change this to /dashboard. Okay. Okay, so it's getting me a bunch of complaints because this is not accessible. By default, Tailwind gives you all these like href hashes, which is not an accessible like attribute. So it's up to you. You can like leave it as is since these are just warnings, but you could also just like delete this link section since presumably we don't have enough pages to finish it. I guess I'll just leave this as is for now and come back to it. All right, so far so good. Hopefully we're all following along decently well. Let's go ahead and dive into the dashboard part. So I'm gonna create a new folder in routes called dashboard. All right. And once again, we're going to create a plus page.svelte in here. That's kind of a weird syntax, but whatever. I'll get used to it. All right, so for now, let's just put some text. Oops, crap. Let's just put some text that says dashboard and leave it as is. And to test it, if we click our dashboard link right here, okay, so we see the word dashboard, so that's good. We are in the right page. Let's go back to our wireframe really quick. Okay, so this part is done, check. Now to do our dashboard, we basically have to create our components, right? We need our to-do form and our to-do list. So let's go ahead and create those components first. And I'm also gonna do it with, let's see, are there any free components we can nab for this, make it easier? Yeah, we have some input layouts, sign in component. Ooh, actually, oh man, that's not the one I want. I'm looking for the free ones that we can use. Let's see if we can grab a good one. Modal, and no, that's not really what I want. I guess these are all locked. That's okay, no big deal. We're just gonna go ahead and yeah, I guess that's fine. We'll just take this as a starter and then delete. Like, I know this is for the sign-in form, but we'll just like make this the form, I guess. And yeah, we'll figure it out later. So let's copy this code. Let's go ahead and go into dashboard in our components, and we're going to create a new file called to-do form. I think that's what I called it. .svelte. And we're going to paste all this. It's going to require a plugin. Okay, so whenever you see this example requires some changes to your config. It requires this plugin called Tailwind Forms. So we actually have to install this plugin first and add it to our Tailwind config. And the reason why we have to do this is because if we don't add this, our forms will kind of look kind of funky, which is not great since we only have so many features and one of them just happens to be a form. So we're actually going to copy this package. I'm going to shut down our server with Control-C, and then I'm going to install this package. So I'm going to do npm install -d and then paste this package. So someone might ask, like, when would you do -d versus like just regular npm install? That's kind of a tricky question to answer. In general, it's just like if it's a package that is used for configuration or like setup, then you would make it a dev dependency, which basically means you install with -d. But honestly, you can get away with putting it either way, to be perfectly honest. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and install that. Okay, that's installed. Now we have to go ahead and add this line to the plugin. So let's copy and paste this. Let's hop over to Tailwind config. Oh, another quick tip that it took me way too long to like realize how useful this is. If you're like me and you're lazy, you don't want to like read through files and like find them. If you know the name of the file, you can also just do Command P in VS Code. Type in the file you want, so Tailwind config. Click enter, and it'll jump to it immediately. So I don't know. This is like a pretty basic tip, but you'd be surprised how long it took me to like get used to that, and it has changed my life for the better. Okay, so we paste that here, save that. All right, so now our forms plugin is installed. And then they're gonna tell you to update your template. We don't really care about that as much, so I'm gonna delete that. All right. Okay, so this is going to contain all the sign-in text, but let's go ahead and just save this. Let me spin up my server again. And I'm going to go ahead in our dashboard page, I'm going to go ahead and import our component that we just made. So I'm going to create a script tag. I'm going to import, what is it, to-do form. Yep, it fills that for us. Thank God, didn't want to have to type it all. All right, to-do form, we're just going to paste that in here. And I'm just going to get rid of this text. All right, let's save that. Let's go back to our app. Whoopsies. Okay, so this is what our to-do form looks like so far. pretty basic, which is I guess is fine. And yeah, we definitely want to change this text and probably get rid of this logo. So let's go ahead and do that first. So this logo is going to be at this image tag. So I'm just going to delete that. Instead of signing into your account, we're going to say, welcome to your to-do app, to-do list or something. I don't know. And I'm just going to get rid of this, like, start your 14-day free trial text. I'm just going to get rid of that. All right. We don't need two forms, right? We only need one form. So I'm actually going to delete this password form right here. I'm going to delete this whole div. And I'm going to change, right now it's collecting an email address. And there are certain input types that are for certain data types. So this is specifically an input field for emails. So we want to change this to just the text type, just a regular text. And I'm going to go ahead and change these labels and stuff from email address to do input. So I got to change this ID to do input. Oopsies. To do input. And I'm going to change this name to do input. Autocomplete. We don't really care about autocomplete here, so I'm going to delete this. Required. Yeah, that's fine. Leave this. Placeholder. This is the gray text that we want to show here when they haven't typed anything. So we're just going to say enter a to do and press enter. Well, actually, no, that's not good. We're just going to say enter to do. Enter to do, press enter is too wordy. All right, so far so good. We don't really need this row of remember me and forgot password. So I'm just going to delete this whole thing. Oops. Okay, pretty basic, but this is what we have so far. Not bad. Let's see. What else should we do? So another thing, well, I guess we'll get to this in a second, but so we basically want, oh yeah, we also have to change this text. I forgot. This sign in should just be like add to do or something. Add to do. Okay, so someone asked, like, new here, are your previous lectures on Twitch? Unfortunately, Twitch deleted a bunch of them because they expired past a certain point, but all the videos up till the one on Tuesday are on YouTube, and here's the !! YouTube command that you can use to get the quick link to the YouTube channel. And they should all be in a playlist called Full Stack Web Development if you do want to see the lectures, but appreciate you stopping by. Okay, so we changed this to add to do. I'm going to go ahead and I guess we don't need this lock icon, so I'm just going to delete this lock icon. Save that. Yeah, for sure. All right, so here's our to-do list. Pretty basic, pretty good so far. It doesn't really do anything, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and what should we do next? I guess let's go ahead and create our list component, right? We just kind of created this part, even though it doesn't look exactly like this, but let's go ahead and create our list component as well. So one thing to note here is that basically the CSS here, where this is what this justify center, item center, this is what's centering our code. So maybe if we say, so if we put a div on the outside and give it a full height, maybe it'll center it in the middle, which it looks kind of nicer. So I'm just gonna say h-full. See if this works. This may not work. Oh wait, haha. The React bled in a little bit. It should just say class. All right, that didn't work. I'm just gonna say h-screen. So h-screen will give us the height of the screen, and then justify center, item center is gonna like horizontally and vertically align that in the center, which just looks nice. So we're gonna leave that. But also though, I want the list to be right under this, right? So if you think about it, all this code that's like wrapping this form, I should really move it outside, right? Because I want the form and the list to be vertically and horizontally centered. So let's actually do some quick like moving around of stuff. And where should we move this? Okay, let's move these 3 lines outside of this component. So I'm gonna cut these lines. I'm gonna remove the ending divs, save that. Prettier should fix it for us. And then if we go to our dashboard page, I'm gonna go ahead and paste those 3 lines we just cut. And then I'm gonna add the div endings here. Whoops. Save that. Okay, so basically we changed nothing, but it just makes it easier because we were actually going to put our to-do list under here. So it just makes sure they're both centered. All right, so now let's get to our to-do list component. So remember the to-do list is just going to be a container with this list of stuff. Let's go ahead and grab a component because I am lazy. I do not feel like coding it myself. Let's find a good list. Fortunately, I think the ones we want are gated behind stuff. Like we really want like the cards component or something. Where is it? I know it's here somewhere. I do have the paid version, but just for this exercise, I just trying to see how far I can get with the free version. No, none of these really are what I want. That is fine. I guess we can find the component from somewhere else, but it'll just kind of look a little jank. Forget it. Let's build this one without components. Let's not be lazy like me. Let's go ahead and build this one just regular. So I'm gonna create a new file in the dashboard components folder called to-do list.svelte. And then here, we're basically going to create a div, and we're going to create a list of items. So let's see, maybe we have this div, like maybe we kind of have it look like how we have it in Excalibur, like a rounded corners, like a border, maybe a shadow as well. Let's just make it look kind of snazzy. So I'm going to add a class. To do a rounded edges, you can do rounded, but I want it to be really rounded, so I'm going to say rounded large for extra roundness. I'm going to add a shadow as well. Let's say a large shadow to make it really pop off the page. We'll just play around with it and see how it looks. And then we're going to add some padding as well. So padding is going to be like, see how there's some white space here, up here, and here? Like some padding is going to, make these list items not hug the edges. So that's good. So I'm going to say padding of like, I don't know, let's say padding of like 4 REM, I think. What is this? No, sorry, padding of 1 REM. So that's 16 pixels. Yeah, that's fine. That'll work. So we'll just leave that as is. And then we're going to create our list items under. So we have to create some fake list items first because we don't have any real data yet. So if we create a fake list item under here, let's call this one, let's also give this a rounded class, maybe like a less rounded, like rounded MD or something. Let's also give this one some padding, maybe like, just less padding here, right, than there is from here. So maybe a padding of like 0.5 REM, yeah, P2 basically. And then, so we need to basically, we want to put all these things in a row. So this is kind of when I would use something like flex, right? So I could use flex on this row. I'm just gonna say flex row to say that this is the row I want. And for this first thing, it's a checkbox. Do we want the checkbox? I don't know if I'm ready to add the functionality of the checkbox. I'm actually just going to pretend that it's just the text and the X. I think we're running a little out of time, and I think the checkbox might take a little longer. So actually, it's just going to be 2 columns. It's just going to be the text and then the X button. So let's say let's do like a span. Let's say buy milk, just because that's our dummy text. And actually, instead of a span, let's make this like a div. All right, buy milk. Let's go ahead and give this a class. Let's give it like some boldness. Let's give it like font medium, which will make it like kind of bold, like not semi-bold, but it's like in between regular boldness and semi-boldness. That's fine. Yeah, let's leave that as is. Maybe we make it like small as well. Text SM to make it a little smaller. And then we're going to put the X button. So let's make this a button. And then I'm going to put the X emoji. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab the emoji picker, put the X. And this is probably not going to look super great. But let's go ahead and save this first. Yeah, let's save this first. And let's go ahead and add this component that we created to our dashboard. So let's go back to our dashboard page right here. I'm going to go ahead and let's see if I can just do it without, let's see if the IntelliSense will automatically import it for us. So let's type in to-do list. Oh, it does. So I don't even need to type import here. I can just like type to-do list, and it'll know which component I want. Pretty nice. So let's save this. Let's take a look at our app now. Okay, so this is what our app looks like. Kind of ugly. I realized that I forgot to put a border on the list items, and yeah, as you can see, the X button is too close to the text. Not a problem. We can fix that. Let's hop back into the to-do list. Let's add a border to the list items. I guess I realized that the shadow, or sorry, the rounded MD doesn't really do anything if you don't have a border or a shadow. So I'm gonna add a border. There we go. We got a little border there. Let's make it a little thicker. Let's say like border 2. And we can give it a color too. So maybe like border dash gray 800 for like a dark gray border. There we go. It's a little better, right? This padding too doesn't seem to be enough. I'm gonna add actually more padding. I'm gonna ramp it up. I'm gonna do padding of 8 on the outside container. So make this part a little bigger. I'm gonna do padding 4 on, or maybe padding 6 on the inside. All right, that's a little better. Okay, this stuff's not important. It's just me playing around with like the CSS. Actually, now I'm unhappy with the padding 6. I'm gonna go back to padding 4. And now we basically want to put the X at the end and then put this text in the beginning. And I'll show you a really easy way to do that with flex. So since we're using flex here, we can just use justify between, and save that, and I'll automatically put enough space so that the 2 items, or however many items that you have in the div, are separated equally. So great. All right, so far so good. So we have our very simple to-do list app. I'm going to add a little bit more padding, or like I'm gonna add some margin onto the list to put it a little under the form. And then I think we're pretty much good for the UI, and let's get started on the data, because that is actually the important part, and we haven't actually done it yet. So I'm just gonna put a margin top on 8 on the top, so this will push the list down, basically. I don't know if you guys saw that. It's kind of hard to see. Wait, did it even work? Margin top 16? No, it didn't work. All right, maybe we have to do padding top. Sometimes you got to play around between the two. Let's try padding top 16. Save that. Okay, as you can see, it went down a little bit. Wait, actually, what am I talking about? That's not what I want. That's not what I want at all. So I guess that didn't work so super well. For some reason, the margin didn't work well for me. See, this shows how poor I am at CSS. Oh, I know why it's not working. It's because of the space. This space Y8 is basically automatically adding a spacing of 8 in between the form and the list. So if we increase this value to like 16, there we go. Now everything is like separated a little bit more. Yeah, that's fine. I'm like not 100% happy with how this looks, but you know, this is not a design project. This is good enough. Okay, so we basically want to do things like if I say buy soda and I press enter or click add to do, we want this to add to the list. So let's get started on that part. So this is where we're going to start talking about data and state. So we're introducing 2 very key concepts here: state and props. I want you to remember those words because they will follow you as long as you keep going down this front end path. Especially if you get to React. State and props are so core to component-based frameworks like Svelte and React. You kind of just have to know them. So basically how I think about state here is that we have 2 bits of state. We have the input list, we have the input item, like whatever text is in this form. So if I say buy soda, the state of this input should be buy soda. We also want the state of the list. Like we want the data that is in the list item. So right now there's only one item in my fake list that says buy milk. And the idea is that when the user submits this form or hits the add to do button, we're gonna take the state that's in this input and we're gonna add it to the list of the list of to-dos that's in our state. Hopefully that makes some sense, but let's go ahead and just code it because I think it's probably something better showed than told. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna create what's the best way to do this? So let's go ahead and create fake data. Basically, we're gonna create fake data for our list, and then we're gonna pass it into to-do list. Remember, state only exists within a certain component. If you need another component to have that data, to have access to that data, you need to pass it in as props. So this is a great example. We're gonna have some state here. So I'm gonna create a comment that says state, and we're gonna put some state here, and we're gonna create a list. So let to-do list equals, and let's say to-do list is gonna be a list of objects, right? Because, well, we could have just like, yeah, we could do a list of strings if we want to just say like buy milk, buy soda, whatever. But a list of objects will be a little bit more powerful in case you want to do things like slash throughs, right? With just a string, we're not going to be able to easily do like slash throughs and stuff like that. So I'm actually going to make a list of objects. So maybe I put like text as the key, buy more milk, and we're not doing a checklist right now, but just in case, let's put like a status. Maybe like if the status is true, then it's not checked. If it's false, it is checked. Like it has a slash through it or something. I don't know. Let's create a couple more of these. Like, I don't know, buy ramen, status, false. We're not really working with the status for now, but just in case we have it. Okay, so now we have our list of to-do items. And what we want to do is pass this list into the to-do list component, and we're going to render this list. So we're going to basically turn each item in this list into one of these divs, or into one of these div items. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So to pass state into another component, we have to use props. So what we're going to do here is we're going to call this props, maybe like list. Well, list is probably not a great name. Maybe like to-dos. Yeah, to-dos is good. To-dos equals brackets. And now we're going to say to-do list. So this is how we're going to pass in this data into this component. So now in our to-do list component, we have to accept the props basically. And I think we do that by adding a script tag. And I think we can do export let to-dos and leave that blank. And I believe now if we, let's just actually, yeah, let's leave this as for now. Let me check the chat, make sure there's nothing I missed. Okay, cool. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna write a, so this is a kind of a weird syntax, but Svelte has an easy way to map items. I don't know if you guys remember us talking about map. Don't worry if you don't. I know it's been a while since we covered that. But mapping basically is a way to transform a list of something into something else. And we want to map here because we want to transform this list of objects, of to-dos, into these div items. So we're going to transform this data into UI, essentially, like visual stuff. So the way we can write this map is we can basically, I think they have a each. It's like bracket each. This is like a special Svelte syntax. So we're saying for each to-do list as item, and maybe we say the index as well. I don't know if we'll need this. So let's do that. And then for each of these, basically it's going to, it's basically saying for each item, it's going to create one of these. So let's go ahead and end this each, and I'll show you what happens here. So slash each, okay? Let's save this. Oh, sorry, I realized I call it to-do list. This should be to-dos. That's why it's not working, I think. So this export let to-dos basically declares that, hey, we're accepting a prop called to-dos, and whatever gets passed in as to-dos, loop through it and create this list item for each one. Is basically what we're doing. So let's save this file and then save this file. And as you can see, now we have 2 buy milks. The text hasn't changed yet, right? Because we actually haven't done anything with the to-do text. We've only just mapped it. So because there's 2 items in our list, right? That's why we have 2 items here visually. Let's clean up our list too, because as you can see, that it's kind of ugly. They're kind of stuck next to each other. One way to fix this is maybe we once again use flex. I like this property a lot. Flex. Let's make this a column because this is a column, right? Or these are just things stacked on top of each other. And what you could do with Plex is you can add a gap. So gap will automatically put spaces in between the items. So we could do this gap 4, which will be like, I think a 16 pixel gap. And as you can see now, we have a gap between our items. Okay, just a very small fix. And now to actually have the list items show up, we just need to change this text that says buy milk. Let's get rid of that. Let's put brackets, and then we can put item.text. Because remember, we have an array of objects, right? We want this text property. So item.text will give us that text property. Boom. So you save that. As you can see, our list is rendered. Great. But still, our app doesn't actually work yet, right? We've made our list work, but this to-do input part doesn't work. So let's finish this part up, and then we'll call it a day. Oh wait, what am I talking about? We're not calling it a day. We're deploying the app, but we're calling it a day in terms of finishing the app development, and then we're gonna deploy it. All right, let's finish this up quick. So in to-do form, we basically want to have another state variable for the input. So maybe like let to-do input equals empty string, because we have an empty string because when the user first loads this form, it shouldn't be anything in it. It should be empty string. So I leave that as an empty string. And now we're going to create a function that's called add to list. So function add to list. And what we're going to do when the function add to list gets called is we're going to take the to-do input, whatever it is, and we're going to create a new object and add it to to-do list. So one easy way to do this is you can just say to-do list equals, and remember, you guys remember destructuring, array destructuring? We can very quickly copy all the items that are already in the list with ... to-do list. So this will basically create a copy of to-do list, but the difference is that we're gonna add our new to-do. Well, do we want to add it to the top or bottom? I guess maybe it'll make sense to add it to the top. Let's just add it to the top. So basically, if we're going to add it to the top, we're going to put our new to-do above to-do list. Oh, sorry, really quick question in the chat. How long is this bootcamp? How long has it been? I've kind of lost track of time, but overall, the whole curriculum part usually is estimated to take about 12 weeks. I believe we're like 4 or 5 weeks in. Guys, could someone correct me on this? I actually forgot how long it's been. I think it's been about like 5 weeks so far. So we're about like at the halfway mark, maybe a little over, but yeah, basically like it's 12 weeks total. We're about like 5-6 weeks in. I don't remember. Cool. All right, so we're gonna add a new object here, and we're gonna set the text to be the to-do input. Right now it's blank, right? But as the user updates to-do input, we're gonna update this variable. So whatever they finish typing in, we'll set that as the text. And then for status, we're not really doing anything with the status right now, but we'll just set it to true, so it'll be checked. Okay. So hopefully this makes sense, right? Basically, this function it just takes whatever the to input is and adds it to the beginning of our list. Cool? You're cool? All right. Last thing here is I also want to, actually, no, I'm just gonna leave this as is. We'll get back to that part later. Cool. Okay, so we've created our state. Once again, we're gonna do the exact same thing that we did with the to-do list, and we're gonna pass our state as props into to-do form. And what do we need to pass in? Well, we're not just gonna pass in the to-do input. We also wanna pass in this function. So let's see how we can do this. So on to-do form, I'm gonna call this props, let's say like to-do input equals brackets, and we're gonna grab our to-do input variable right here. So to-do input. And then I'm gonna pass in our function that's add to list. Just because I'm lazy, I don't wanna type the whole thing, I'm just gonna call the props add, and then I'm gonna say add to list, and this is gonna pass in our function. Okay, so that's part one of our props. Part two is going into our form and accepting those props, right? We haven't actually accepted them yet. So let's go into to-do form. Let's go ahead and create let's go ahead and create a script tag at the top and accept our props. So export let to-do input. Leave that. All right. And then we also have to export let add, which I think is a function. I think. It's saying it's better to use const. Okay, I can see that. Let's just set this to constant. I don't know. Is this? I don't know. Is this right? Okay, never mind. Let's go back to let. It gets mad. Cool. So this is how we are accepting these props, right? We pass them in as to do input and add. Oh, notice how it shorthanded it for me. So this is like to do input equals to do input. Add is the add to list function. And now we're going to wire it up. So for the input, the way we can wire up our input, this input field to our to do input variable is we can use bind. So this is a built-in thing for Svelte, but what we can do is bind colon value equals, and then we can put our to do input variable. So this is going to bind the input to do input. So this means like whatever I type in to the input box, the to do input variable will be updated automatically. So they're going to bind them together. Okay, I think that's good. Let's go ahead and save that. And now when the form gets submitted, I want to call the add function. So let's go ahead and go into the form. What we can do is let's get rid of all this stuff. We don't need this. We don't need the action or the method. Let's add an onSubmit property. I guess it's like this in Svelte. onSubmit, and we're going to type in add. Cool. So what we did here is, we passed in our to-do input component, or sorry, to-do input variable, our add function, and then we call add when it's submit, and we bind our input to the input. Once again, this might seem kind of fast-paced, but hopefully it's starting to all come together, how like these real apps get built. Okay, now the moment of truth. So supposedly we've wired everything up. Let's make sure everything's saved, and let's try to add a new to-do by Soda. So because I'm using onSubmit, if I click enter, or if I click this add to do button, it should add it. So let's test this. Okay, didn't quite work. It did create a new to do, so something new did get added. But interestingly enough, it did not actually update the text. So we have some debugging to do here. We have some not explaining to do, but we have some things to figure out. But we're pretty close, right? We know that this part is working. It's just that to do input is blank. So to do input isn't working properly. So my hunch is that this bind isn't working well. Let me maybe get rid of some of these other things. I don't know if this is going to affect it. Bind value to do input. Let's save this. Let's try refreshing this again. No, that didn't work. Okay, let's try to debug this. What we can do is go into our dashboard, check our add to list function, and maybe let's go ahead and console.log. Actually, outside of that, let's go ahead and console.log to do input. And I'm assuming this is going to be a blank, empty string. So let's go ahead and open up our console. There we go, have our console. I'm going to go ahead and type some stuff, yada yada, enter. Okay, so it is empty string. So we do know that nothing is being set for to do input. Darn. Let's see why that is. I'm assuming I did something wrong here. Maybe the bind value is not working. Let's do some debugging. Let's Google input bind Svelte bindings. Oh. Yeah, that's what we have, right? Text inputs, bind value name. That is what we have. Let me get rid of this type attribute because I notice it works well without it. Value, bind value. Yeah, it should be bind value, huh? That's weird. Let's see. See why it's not working. Interesting. So theoretically, this should all be wired up, but for some reason, this part is not giving me some trouble. Let's see why this could be. Export let to do input. I don't know. Is it confused about the name? We'll have to debug this. That's okay. We're running out a little bit out of time. I know this is kind of like the main part of it, but we succeeded in adding to-dos, or at least we succeeded in adding objects, but for some reason this bind isn't working. So when I type things in, I expect the bind to automatically update this variable, but something must be going on here. I must be passing in props incorrectly. Let me see if I could do a quick Google search. Pass props Svelte. Sometimes seeing some documentation like this could help. Okay, so import, nested, let. Yeah, it should be export. That's what I did. I don't know. Maybe I should try messing around with the names. Like maybe this, like let me change the props to value. I don't know if that's gonna work, but if I change the props to value, save that, and I'm gonna go here, change this to value equals. I don't see why this would break, but let's go ahead and save that. Let's test one more time. Nope, did not work. Created with unknown prop to do input. Wait, what is this saying? Without expected prop value. I think these are old errors, right? Yeah, no issues. Okay, well, that's okay. Our app didn't work, and I'm a little confused why, but I will try to debug it right after, because I know we're running out of time. But in theory, this should be binding correctly. There must be something going on with maybe, I don't know. Very strange. Also good. Let's move on. Let's go ahead and let's just push up what we have first online, and then we'll go back, and if we have time, we'll figure this out. Sorry guys, but hopefully like we've gotten almost there, right? We've gotten most of the way there, but the last thing is just this bind doesn't work. Wait, whoa. It just disappeared on us. What's going on? Did I type this bind value wrong? Bind value equals value. Maybe value is not a good name again. I'm just gonna go back to do input. Something is afoot to do input. Yeah. Test. Let's do one more Google search. Text input not binding. Svelte. Binding doesn't update action. Bind value. Bind value. Yeah, that's what we have. What if I try to remove? No, the ID and stuff shouldn't have anything to do. Let me remove the name and the ID. I don't see why this would affect it at all, but that is one of the only differences I can see. Nope. Okay, that's okay. I'm gonna stop for now, and I'm gonna go ahead and try to deploy this. So almost all the way there. Unfortunately, our app is not fully working. We just have this last little bug to figure it out. But because we're running out of time, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next part, which is deploying that. So let's pretend it works for now. I know we're missing some text here, but we're almost there. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and shut down our server. And what we wanna do now is we're gonna push our code up to GitHub. And once our code is on GitHub, Vercel will be able to deploy our app in like one click. It's super nice. So I'll show you what I mean. So guys, remember, if you guys were here at the Git session, the flow we do is we make our changes. So we just made all our changes, right? We run git add to add all of our files that we changed. We run git commit to make a commit. And then we run git push to push up the code to GitHub. So let's do that. So git add space dot. So this will add all the code. Git commit in our message -m. So we got to say, I don't know, created project. Let's maybe also describe the issue that we're having. Running into issue with text binding. Still really confused what's going on. If someone can figure it out, I would love to chat about it, because honestly, I am perplexed. There's something weird going on here. Anywho. So we go ahead and run git push. Okay, so we're pushing it. And then we just push it to GitHub. So now we can go back to our GitHub, and I'm gonna refresh. And as you can see, all of our code is up on GitHub. So we're good there. Now, guys, I'm going to show you Vercel. So let's go to vercel.com. You guys can just sign up with your GitHub account. It should be very quick, but I'm going to go ahead and log in since I already have one. I'm going to click continue with GitHub to sign into my GitHub account. Okay, so it's this is my GitHub, or this is my Vercel dashboard. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to do add new project, and then check this out. Boom, to do HQ, import. All we need to do is just press this, configure project. Okay, this is all good. This is all, it knows we're using SvelteKit, so it gives us a bunch of like default settings, which is great. Now we just hit deploy, and drum roll. Actually, I don't want to drum roll because it'll probably take like more than a few seconds. But let's see it in action. So now it's deploying our app. Super simple, right? Even simpler than GitHub Pages, I would even dare say. So let's give that a second. Yay, our project is deployed. So, oh yes, Vercel is free. That's why it's amazing. You can deploy a project even if it gets like 100,000 page views. It's not going to cost you anything. So yeah, Vercel is free. It costs $0 to do all of this, and you can have unlimited projects. You can deploy 100 projects, and they're all free. Cool. So our app is deployed. Let's go ahead and visit it. To do hq.vercel.app. That's not a bad URL, right? It's pretty snazzy. Okay, so our app's here. We can go to our dashboard and we can see how this doesn't work. So we type in something, boom, doesn't work. But you know, that was pretty simple, right? The deploying part was very quick. So I'll share the link to the app if you do want to play around with it yourself. But yeah, that's basically it. We just deployed our app. And that's all for today, essentially. Because I am stubborn, I am determined to try to get this thing to work. I know there's a very simple reason why this text binding is not working. Oh man, I wonder if it's because maybe I have to do like $sign to make the state reactive. Let me go back to the Svelte tutorial. Where is it? Dynamic attributes. No, it's not this. Updating arrays and objects. Do I have to put a $sign in order to... Oopsies. Deploying props, text inputs. Yes, this is what I want. Okay, so I did this. Yes. Value name. Okay, what's weird is that, like, okay, so if I basically try to break this apart, let's say I just get rid of this to-do list component and just take all the code that's in there and put it in this file. Let's see what happens. So I'm actually just gonna copy and paste this, or I'm just gonna copy it rather. I'm gonna delete this, I'm gonna get rid of this component and just paste the code that was in that component in here. So instead of to-dos, now it's called to-do list. Wait, no, that's not gonna work. I should be doing that actually for the form. So I'm gonna take all the code that's in the form, copy this, and I'm gonna get rid of this to-do form. I'm gonna paste all the code that's in the form here, and I'm gonna replace, yeah, so this is gonna be add to list. So I just gotta change up some of the variable names to match what I have here. To do input, so that's the same. Okay, let's save this, and let's try to run it. So I'm gonna run npm run div again. Okay, we're back to our dashboard. Let's test. Okay, so now it works. So now it works. So something was going on with my props. So I wasn't doing something correctly. So I don't know if you guys saw that, but basically I just took all the code that was in the form, moved it out, and now it works. So basically, now that the state and the code isn't all in the same file, it works properly. I'm guessing I'm not using props correctly. Yeah, super weird. I'm pretty mind boggled too, but I have a feeling I know it has something to do with props. I think I'm passing or doing something incorrectly here, but you know what? We take those, right? We'll take it. We'll figure out why it's not working some other day. But for now, you know, our app is working, so we'll take that. Okay, so now that it's working, we can actually do things like delete, right? Because this is not working either. Let's go ahead and create a function that's like delete, remove from list. And to remove from list, we need the index item, right? So if they click the second item, we need to remove the second item from the list. So we can remove from list I, like we need to accept the index, and we can just say, we can use the splice method from an array to say, to do list dot splice I1. So this is basically going to say at this index, remove just one item. That's basically what this line does. And then I think we have to actually manually assign it. This is kind of a weird thing that that Svelte makes you do. Like basically in this function, to-do list isn't matched up to this to-do list. So this explicitly sets it. I don't know. It's super weird, but this is going to be the right way to do it. And then now we're going to do a remove to do. So where's our X button? Oh, I guess our X button is in here. So in our to-do list, when this gets clicked, we need to remove it. So let's try this again. So export let remove. Oh, no worries. Sorry it went over. But yeah, that was basically it for the session. But yeah, thanks for joining along, and thanks for hanging in there with me as I debug this stuff. But hopefully it was helpful still. Okay, we're almost done here. So basically on X, when it gets clicked, so on click, right? This is Svelte stuff. I'm gonna call the remove function. All right. So far so good. Let's go ahead and actually remove. We need to say remove the index, right? So here in our list, we need to get the index, which is as part of our each block. So we can say remove, and we call that on the index. Let's save that. And then we need to pass in the remove function into to-do list. So we're going to say remove equals remove from list. Save that. All right, let's test it. So hit this. It worked. Dude, okay. Oh my God. I think I know what I did wrong with the adding stuff. I think I know where I went wrong here. I think this function, I think I should have put it in an anonymous function, because here, like into to-do list, I put this function here in an anonymous function rather than just saying like remove. And I feel like that's why it wasn't working. Let's test this. I know it's all working now, but I am determined to get this component to work. So let's go ahead and go back. Let's remove this, put our to-do form back. So we have to-do input equals to-do input. And then we have add equals add to list. Yep. Okay. So that's the same. We're gonna go back into to-do form. So yeah, add to-do input. Yeah, that looks good. And instead, we're gonna change this to be. Let's also prevent default. Remember that when you're submitting things on forms, if you don't prevent default, the page will automatically refresh. I wonder if that's causing the buggy behavior that we're seeing. Okay, so actually I did it like this. So I did an anonymous function in here. I'm preventing default to prevent the page from refreshing, and then I'm gonna add. Let's see if this works. So let's save this. Moment of truth by soda. Wait, why do I have two? Oh yeah, because I forgot to delete this. There we go. All right. Why is my, okay. That's by soda. No, it didn't work. Dang it, I lied. So I guess I lied. That's not why it wasn't working. It's some other reason. Bleh. That's all good. We'll move it back. I could have sworn this worked before. Like, I'm so confused why it doesn't work. Oh well. Oh well, it's working, and honestly, that's mostly what matters here. I'm just gonna move everything back. Testing. Okay, so we're all good. The last thing, quality of life, is like, you know, after you submit this form, you probably shouldn't have the form filled. So after we add an item to the list, we need to just set the input to blank, to empty string. There we go. So testing, enter. Okay, now it's clear. All right, all good. Now it works properly, and we can delete things as normal. So just to make sure this change is live, I'm gonna shut down the server. I'm gonna git add, git commit, fixed bug, kinda, kinda, and then git push. And guess what, guys? All we need to do is just push and check it out. Check it out on Vercel. It's queuing up a new deployment. Every time we push something to our main branch, Vercel will automatically redeploy for us. Isn't that cool? So we don't even have to redeploy. It just automatically does it for us. So it's building. Let's give it like a couple seconds. It looks like it says from the previous builds, it took like about 15 seconds. So once it's done, let's go ahead and check on the site. That's live, and it should all be working. Cool. 18 seconds this time, but it looks like it's good. Let's go ahead and visit our site. All right, dashboard, testing. Yay, it works. Woohoo! All right, now we can delete to-dos, and nice. So our app is working, finally. Even though it was kind of a hacky way, I didn't do it like the right way, but you know what, who cares? One day I'll figure out why that didn't work. I'm still really confused, but hey, at least we got it. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the slides now. Sorry that took a little longer than expected. So the homework is basically to redo that whole exercise. Like we went through a lot, right? But I think it's going to be really helpful if you guys also take the time to do something very similar today that we did today. Basically create a brand new app from GitHub, add Svelte kit, add Tailwind, and deploy it over Vercel. I think that exercise is going to be super helpful in kind of linking everything together. So that's the homework. If you were able to keep up today and you need something else to do, feel free to just like finish the Svelte tutorial that we went through on Tuesday. I know I had you guys stop at like, I think this section, the lifecycle section. Feel free to just go through and hit the rest if you do need more to do. But honestly, I wouldn't worry about it too much because we're going to move on to React, I think next week. I haven't like finalized it, but I think you guys might be ready for the final boss of front end, which is basically React. So look forward to that on Tuesday. And yeah, that's basically it. I don't know if you guys have any questions for today, since today was not really like a lecture heavy day. It was basically just a, coding and all that, but opened it down to take Q&A for maybe a little shorter time because we did go pretty over. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging in there, everyone that stuck around. Hopefully it was helpful. And yeah, just let me know if you have any questions. If not, I will probably start winding down in a few minutes. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely getting a little difficult today. For sure, it's going to be one of those sessions that's probably best to review the VOD, just because we went through so much. It was so fast. Also, it clearly made some mistakes, so don't want you to get anything from those. But yeah, hopefully, like I do think once you guys go through this exercise and build everything together, it'll all like fall into place a lot more. I think this is like the first exercise that you'll really see the power of Tailwind. You'll see the power of like, these components and all that. And yeah, this is like, this pattern of building apps is how you're going to be building apps for React, Next.js, like all that stuff. So definitely transferable there. But if you want, like, I'm also open to taking one more week to do more Svelte next week. I'm just debating, should we just dive into React next week, or should we stick on Svelte? Because my thought process is, Svelte is very useful, but I don't want you guys to get too caught up on Svelte syntax, because ultimately, once again, the final boss is React. Like I want you guys to come out of this class like React experts, and so that is the main like front end framework I want you guys to learn. And Svelte is a good stepping stone, but in my head, I'm like, should we spend more time on Svelte? Should we just move on to React? I think after you guys go through this exercise, I think you guys are ready to move on to React. That's my opinion, but yeah, we'll see. So Tuesday will be like the intro to React, but we are going to spend more time in React than we did on Svelte. Just a heads up. React is kind of tricky. All right, but yeah, I'm trying to think of just anything else I missed. What's your WPM? Oh my god, it's not good. It's actually really bad. I'm working on raising it. I think my words per minute is like 100 or like 100 to 120. It depends on like what I'm typing. I make a lot of mistakes, so it's not that great. I guess we could check, but I'm kind of scared to do it live. I feel like I'd mess up a lot. It'd be really embarrassing. But I will take a screen. I will do a test and take a screenshot and show you guys. But I'm pretty sure it's not that great. Yeah, for sure. I think code is like, yeah, my code WPM is probably some good because I use a lot of like IntelliSense and autocomplete and stuff. So I feel like that stuff has slowed my typing down more because I don't need to type as much. Um, but yeah, I get my typing speed isn't that great. Could be faster. Oh yeah. I think my friend showed me that. I didn't actually know you could do programming syntax. That's pretty cool. I'll have to check that out. Monkey type. Mhm. All right, but yeah, hopefully you guys, hopefully it all makes sense. Let me know if you have any final questions. But if not, just because I know I went really over today, I'm gonna go start winding down. Thank you guys for joining. The homework is in the slides, so feel free to just check that out. But really, it'll just be the VOD. I think this VOD will be the best resource for that. Also, let me know. Wait, actually, what am I talking about? The code is on GitHub, so here, I'll share a link in the chat, but I'll share this on Discord as well. If you need the solution, I guess, like the code that we went through today, feel free to just check out the project I have on GitHub. That's, this is the code that we just made, so could be a nice like solution file to look at. Um, um, um. Mm. Yes. One day I'll figure out why the prop stuff wasn't working. I know there's some really simple explanation for it. I'm just missing it. I need to spend more time looking at Svelte, but oh well. At least it's working. All right, y'all. If there are no more questions, I'm gonna go ahead and start winding down. Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. Get ready for Tuesday. Tuesday is gonna be React, so I'm really excited that we've made it this far. You should all pat yourself on the back. I mean, it's been how many weeks? I don't even know how many weeks it's been. It's been like at least 4 or 5 weeks. And React is not easy. And the fact that you guys are able to pick up Svelte, which is also not super easy as well. I think going into React is going to be a little less scary than it normally is. And, we're going to spend a lot of time with React. So don't worry if it feels like it's going fast. Because once again, like Svelte is not the end goal. React is the end goal. So even if you don't feel like you've mastered Svelte, clearly I am not a master at Svelte either. So don't even worry if it's all like somewhat confusing. Just trust me when I say like this exercise of just making an app from scratch with Tailwind, Svelte, and like deploying it on Vercel, that will give you a lot of clarity. So just take some time whenever you can to like rewatch this video, go through the exercise that we did today, and I think you'll come out of it a lot more confident. Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna get that YouTube vid up ASAP because I know a lot of people are requesting the VODs. So we'll get Tuesday session up on YouTube. I don't think I uploaded that yet, and get today's session up as well. Yeah, no, I'm really glad you're excited for React and Next.js. I am excited as well. Like React and Next.js, I am much more familiar with. So hopefully we don't get any of these weird, funky errors. But yeah, no, it's they're great. Even Svelte, like I still recommend like keeping up with Svelte and like its progress because it is a really great tool. Svelte apps are just a lot faster than React apps, which is nice, but it's just not as popular to be perfectly honest. But yeah, I think that's it. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. Super excited for Tuesday. Once again, if you feel like things are crazy right now, don't worry. Just I might have an office hours next week. It's TBD, just given my schedule. But if more people go through the exercise, they feel like stuck, not a problem. We can have some office hours and kind of talk about it more. Also, as always, on Discord, if you have any issues or want anything me to take a look at, just feel free to just message it to me, and I'm happy to take a look. But yeah, once again, I feel like don't worry if today was super fast. It was fast on purpose. Just rewatch the video, go through the exercise, and hopefully it'll start to come together more. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I will see you guys on Tuesday, I guess. All right, y'all. Gonna start winding down now. See you guys next week.